10 real QA and test automation interview questions from a Quest2Offer mock. Pause on each one, think how you'd answer, then I'll show you how. Let's go. Walk me through the test pyramid and why it's shaped that way. It's a guide to test distribution, a wide base of fast unit tests, fewer integration tests, and a thin top of end-to-end tests. Unit tests are cheap, fast, and stable. E2E tests are slow and brittle, so you keep them few but high value. The shape pushes you to catch most bugs at the cheapest layer. Inverting it, an ice cream cone of mostly E2E, gives you slow, flaky sweets. A test passes locally but fails randomly in CI. How do you find and fix it? Flakiness almost always comes from non-determinism, race conditions, fixed sleeps, shared state, or test order dependence. I reproduce by running it in a loop, then isolate the cause, replace sleeps with explicit weights, reset state between tests, and remove ordering assumptions. Network and time are common culprits, so I mock or stub them. A flaky test is worse than no test, so I quarantine and fix. Never just retry forever. How do you decide what to automate versus what to keep manual? Automate the stable, repetitive, high-risk paths you run often. Regression, smoke, data-driven cases. Keep manual the things humans judge better. Exploratory testing, usability, visual polish, and one-off checks. The math is simple. Automation pays off when run frequency times manual cost beats the build and maintenance cost. Don't automate a screen that changes every sprint. You'll spend more fixing tests than finding bugs. Explain the page object model and what problem it solves. The page object model wraps each page or component in a class that exposes its elements and actions, hiding the locators behind methods. Its main job is maintainability. When the UI changes, you update one page object instead of dozens of tests. Tests then read as intent. Login page.signin user. Not raw selectors. I keep assertions in the tests, not the page objects, so the objects stay reusable. How do you approach testing a REST API? Start with the contract, status codes, schema, headers, and the happy path for each endpoint. Then push the edges, bad input, auth and authorization, missing fields, pagination, idempotency, and error responses. API tests are fast and stable, so I put a lot of coverage here instead of the UI. Tools like Postman or Rest Assured handle functional checks. I add schema validation and contract tests to catch breaking changes early. Quick pause. These are real questions from Quest2Offer's AI mock interview. Pick your target role and level, answer out loud or in writing, and get a breakdown of exactly where you'd get cut. It's free to try at quest2offer.ai. Now, back to the questions. What makes a bug report good enough that a developer can act on it immediately? A clear title, exact reproduction steps, and the expected versus actual result. Add environment details, build, browser, OS, plus logs, screenshots, or a video, and a severity that reflects real impact. The test is whether someone who's never seen the bug can reproduce it from your report alone. Vague reports like "login is broken" just bounce back, so I make it self-contained. What's the difference between smoke testing and regression testing? A smoke test is a quick, shallow check that the critical paths work and the build is stable enough to test further. You run it first and fast. Regression is broad and deep. You rerun existing tests to confirm new changes didn't break old behavior. Think of smoke as "is the build alive?" and regression as "did we break anything that used to work?" Smoke runs on every build. Full regression runs less often. How do you handle test data so your suite stays reliable? Each test should own and isolate its data, so tests never collide or depend on each other. I prefer generating data programmatically through factories or fixtures, then cleaning up after. That beats relying on a shared, hand-curated database that drifts. For sensitive data, I mask or synthesize never-copy real PII into test environments. Reset state per test, and your suite stops failing for reasons that aren't real bugs. How do you run automated tests effectively in a CI/CD pipeline? Wire tests into the pipeline as gates, unit and integration on every commit, slower E2E on merge or nightly. Speed matters, so I parallelize, shard, and fail fast on the cheap layers first. Tests must be deterministic and self-contained. No shared environment that one job can poison for another. A red build blocks the merge, and flaky tests get quarantined so they don't erode trust in the pipeline. What does code coverage actually tell you, and what doesn't it? Coverage tells you which lines or branches executed during tests, nothing more. It finds untested code, but it can't tell you the tests assert anything meaningful. You can hit 100% with 0 assertions. So I use it as a signal to find gaps, not a target to chase. High coverage with weak tests is false confidence. The real question is whether tests catch regressions, and coverage doesn't measure that. That's all 10. How many did you get? Tell me in the comments, and like, subscribe, and try a real mock interview at Quest2Offer.ai. Good luck out there.